Okay, so now I want to talk about animation some more and about just translation and movement. How do you make some movement happen with some of these animations and transformations we've been talking about? So you can here now see that I have like a square and a circle set up on our web page right here. And what I'll do is I'll go over and take a look at what does that mean? What does that look like? What I have here simply on the HTML side is simply two containers. And I have a simple animation container you see with a class here that has animations, and that's our square that we have over here. That'll be our square that's set up right here that has animations on it. And then we also have another section in class, a little space that's going to be our circle that we have set up over here. That's our circle that we have. So how do we set up an animation on this right away? So what I'll do is I'll go up here to our simple animation class, and that's where our square is. And this is how you set up a box. I want to talk a little bit about setting up the box. All you need for the box really is simply a space. And I just put some words here, animations. I don't even have to have a word. It's just setting up space, if you will, on our web page, in the browser and in the window. So I've given it a width of 200, a height of 200. I've lined to the center, and I put a border radius 0, and a border black. So by doing that and having the same width and height, essentially what that's doing is it's setting up a square that has animations. So you can see the exact same a square here that has animations. If I want to make that look like this, a circle, what I do is I change this border radius property. So this border radius, let's say if I made this 100 instead of 0, and save that and go back over here and see what that looks like now on our website, and just hit refresh, you can see that square now turns to a circle. So this, just by changing that border radius property, the border radius property will allow you to change a number of things and make that look a little bit different. So I can make that as big as I want. I can make this 190 if I want to, and that may just change it just slightly. But that essentially allows you to help set up a circle, and you may see a little bit of a slight change here when I hit. You can see it changes now, and it's pretty much just like this circle right here. So changing that border radius property would change something that's a square to a circle. So now let's animate this. Let's do something with this circle. Let's do something to animate it. So this part right here was setting up the box, the width, the height, the text line, the border radius. Now I'm going to go ahead and set up the animation on this simple animation class. Let's set up the animations. I call this name color change, and you can see our at keyframes portion right here is referring to this color change, having the background color be gold. As you can see, our background color is gold over here on our website. That background color is gold on that circle. And then having that background color do something. And the animation is going to take 4.4 seconds, and I'm going to change it a little bit in just a second. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to move it. Instead of just changing the color from, let's say, gold to red over a certain period of time, we're going to move this in a second. I'm going to go ahead and give this infinite and make it keep going. But essentially what's going to take place is we're going to have it 0%, which is where we're going to start our animation, and we're going to use a transform property and then translate it. And to translate, that's exactly what you think it's saying. It's moving right there. So to move that from where it is on the computer screen to someplace else. So this first value here represents X, and this value represents Y. So wherever the object is starting from, this is X is 0 and this is Y is 0. When you move X in a positive direction, you're moving it to the right. When you move Y in a positive direction, you're moving it down. So if I say X90, it's going to go over here. If I say Y90, it's going to go down here. If I say negative X, it's going to go to the left. And if I say negative Y, it's going to go up. So that's kind of how it works. So X to the right is positive, and Y down is positive. So it's starting up kind of at this corner, if you will, in the upper left-hand part. So I'm going to say at 0%, let's translate this. Let's start out at 0, 0, exactly where we are, where we started. Then 25% through our 4.2 animation here, go ahead and stay at 0x, but go down 90. Move down 90 pixels, if you will, and change to the color red. I'm going to have this actually go into in a square in a minute. So stay at x0 and go down 90. And then when you're halfway through, go over x90, stay down at x 90y. And then when you're 75% through, stay where you are at x and go up a little bit. And do it opposite direction, and as you're staying up, go back over to where you started with at X. So that may seem a little bit confusing, but essentially it's going to make a square. It's going to go down, over to the right, up, and then back again. So down, over to the right, up, and then back again. So let's see what that looks like. If I go ahead and put that on iteration, and we go back over to our website and refresh that. So you can see it's going down, over to the right, back up, -30, and back where it started. Down 90, over X, back up, and where it started. So that's essentially what I'm saying. To just form a little square on the screen, go down some, over to the right, back up, and go back where you started. So that's essentially what I'm telling it to do. And that's what this whole entire piece of code here says for it to do is start where you're at 25%, go down. When you're at 50%, stay down, but go over to the right, and then go up a little bit on the Y, and then go back where you started from an X-axis. So that's essentially what this code is telling it to do. So now let's do something else. Instead of just animating this, let's begin to animate that second part of our website as well. So let's look at this movement animation. So I gave this second circle here this class of movement animation. I just called it movement so we can move it. I didn't put anything in it, but it's still going to obviously be a circle on our screen. So what I did here, done the same thing, is set up the width, the height, giving it a border radius so it could be a circle. And if we see what that looks like over here, we have this circle placed. This one has animations applied to it. This doesn't have animation applied to it just yet. So this is essentially what's taking place. And so now I'm going to go over here on this second red circle at the bottom that has no animation. So I'm going to go ahead and uncomment this. Let's do the same type of thing. And I just called it bouncing ball. And since it's a different object on the screen, I gave it a different animation name. And even though our animation name and our at keyframes property have to match. So this at keyframe is referring to the bouncing ball, the animation name that I gave it. So this has to match right here. So I'm going to go ahead and take off all of this. And essentially what I've given it is the same properties, if you will, as the first one. So they're both going to go in the square. It's going to start out at 0. It's going to go down 90. Then it's going to go over to the right 90. Then it's going to go up and go back over to where it was in terms of drawing out a square on the page, if you will. So this is the bouncing ball. And I'm going to have it be infinite, the same amount of time. So I'll go ahead and save that. And let's look at what this code, the same code, does to our project now, a web page. If I hit refresh, you see they start out, and now they kind of go in the same place. So they're both kind of tracing out a little bit of a square on the screen as they go up and go back to the same place. And that's exactly what you can play around with this. You can make this do a lot of things as you might imagine. So I go over here, I can change the time for this, the duration of this. So I just gave it the exact same framework, if you will, so that it could move the same way. Both balls could move the same way, if you will. And what I'm going to do now is go up here to the top. And I have a whole animation container that I set on both of those sections in my HTML. I'm going to go ahead and uncomment that and make this whole thing a grid and save that. So instead of just being one on top of the other, like it is now, I'm going to go ahead and make them side by side and place them both on the grid. If you see I do that, by doing that, now I have them doing the exact same thing just within a grid. And you can play around with this. You can change how far they're going over. You can make them crisscross. You can do whatever you want to do with that. But this is just a simple way to do some animations with it. And I can go over here and I can make it change a little bit. I can change some of the ways, the background colors and how I'm making this move. Let's see on this second one, not only red, maybe I want the background color to also be green at 50% through. I can do that as well. So I'll go ahead and go back over here and hit refresh for that. And so I'll make these both move the same way, but I'm making that turn green halfway through the animations. So you can play with this and make this how you want it. You can see how people begin to do animations, and you could do a lot with it. Even if I went back over here, and let's say I changed the duration of this. And instead of 4.4 seconds to be exactly equal as the other one, I made it 1.4 seconds. So one's going to be faster than the other. It's going to go through its iterations faster than the first one. The second one will. Let's see what that looks like actually on the screen when we play around with that. So kind of making it go a little bit faster. As you can imagine, this is kind of, so you can make this go different ways, make it look like it's a bouncing ball, however you want to do it. I just wanted to give you a quick and to show you what animations are and how you can play around with them. And you can take transitions and transformations and animations and combine them all together and actually translate things on the screen so that you're actually making things move and translate from one position of X to the other. So stay with us for some more information on CSS and animations and some more tricks that we're going to show you in just a minute.